Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to the trashy Vaughn Manor, where Roger and I have returned to talk trash once again. We're talking trash because that rolling dumpster fire that is Garbaugust is almost upon us. It's almost here to immolate us with trash. It's the month where we have to read trash. Not the classy stuff we normally read around here at stately Vaughn Manor, but trashy books, or at least books that have been deemed trash by society. So, years ago now, Criminali, when he was just a young Criminali, before he became gigantic and conquered BookTube, before then, Criminali came up with this fantastic reading event devoted to reading trash, or books that are considered trash by society. A whole month devoted to reading trashy fiction, and it is the greatest reading event of all time. We love it, and not just because trash is pretty much all I read, not just because of that, but it is a great reading event. It's always tons of fun. Criminali, of course, is wonderful. He's the greatest. He has the greatest BookTube channel in history, probably. So, it's always fun to do this event with Criminali. And he has a bunch of trashy co-hosts. I'll link them all down below. Hopefully I have them all right. But I'll link them all down below because you're going to want to check out all of their amazing channels and all of their great videos about Garbaugust. So yeah, Garbaugust, it's almost here. A month away, Garbaugust. And so let's talk about Garbaugust and what it's going to be this year. So this year, Garbaugust is Garbaugust 3D. It's Garbaugust 3. It's in 3D. It's not really in 3D. It's not really. But that's the name of it. Garbaugust 3D. And it's going to be a ton of fun. And, it's got weekly prompts like all of the reading events do. Now, August is going to be busy for me because there is a book that I am committed to reading in August, which I didn't consider trash, but thinking about it, it would be considered trash by society because it's a sword and sorcery novel. Sword and sorcery, my favorite subgenre. And everything sword and sorcery is pretty much considered trash by society. So this book would actually fit right in. It's Shadow of the Smoking Mountain by Howard Andrew Jones. And this is book 3 in the Hanovar series. I love the Hanovar books. They're great. I read the first 2. They're both fantastic. I made videos about each one of those, and I will make a video on this book after I read it. This book is actually going to be re-released in October. It's coming out in October. But I want to have it read before then so I can get the video out early so I can talk about it and, let you guys know about the book, which is coming out in October. And so I have to read Shadow of the Smoking Mountain. I have to read this book, but fortunately it kind of fits right in with Garbaugust. So I'll squeeze this in at some point, probably in the middle of the month. I think it will be 500 pages long or something like that. Howard Andrew Jones very kindly sent me an e-copy of this book. It's an e-arc. He got a hold of me and he said, "Hey, do you want an e-arc of the new Hanovar book?" And I said, "Sure. Roger, what's an e-arc?" I didn't know what an e-arc was, but now I do. It's an e-book that, is the book that's coming out later. So he sent me that, and I'm going to read it in August, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like I said, the other 2 Hanovar books are fantastic. This is the 3rd book in the series. It's probably going to be fantastic as well. So I am going to be reading this book, Shadow of the Smoking Mountain by Howard Andrew Jones. I'll be reading that, so I'll be reading that. And then I have other books to read for Garbaugust. Now remember, there are weekly prompts, so let's check out the weekly prompts. So I should mention that before we get to the weekly prompts, that this fantastic book, Garbology, Criminali Presents Garbology, edited by Troy Tradeup, should be out, I think, the first week of August or before that. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. But anyway, Criminology Presents Garbology should be out early August. And it is an anthology with a bunch of stories. Many of the stories are by booktubers that you might know. All trashy stuff in this anthology. And I'm not buying any books right now because I'm not going to be buying anything that doesn't count for my stupid 500 book challenge. But, you know, if Troy Trade Up decides to send me an e-arc of this book, or a physical copy or whatever, if I get a copy of this book that I don't have to buy, then I will definitely read it, and that'll take priority over everything else. Excuse the garbage truck. Anyway, yeah, so if I manage to get a copy of this book, Troy, if you want to send me a copy of this book, I will read this. But I definitely want to let all of you know that this book is coming out, and it looks to be the perfect thing to read for Garbaugust. So yeah, the first prompt for Garbaugust. This is August 1st through the 10th. The prompt is anything goes. So you could just read anything for this prompt, anything at all. And so I think the book I'm going to read is Slugs by Sean Hudson, an animal attacks book about slugs. And the reason I really want to read this is because, well, first of all, it's an animal attacks book. So how can you go wrong, really? And Ollie has spoken very highly of this book, Slugs. He really likes this one. And so because of that, I've really been wanting to read it. And I'm determined to read Slugs by Sean Hudson this year. I only have an ebook copy of this, which is okay. It fits right in. Ebooks are, you know, pretty much the new mass market paperbacks, really. The trashy way to read books. So, yeah, Slugs by Sean Hudson. Definitely want to read that. And so this is the perfect opportunity to read Slugs. And so that's week 1. And so week 2, the 11th through the 17th, it is category romance or men's adventure. Gee, Roger, which one of those should we read? Should we read category romance or should we read men's adventure? That's pretty tough. I think I'll go with men's adventure. I think we're going to do that. So here's a book I was supposed to read last year but didn't. And that is Mac Bolan, The Executioner, Book 2, Death Squad. It's Death Squad. So I did read the first Mac Bolan book. It must have been during the first Garbaugust. And it was a masterpiece. It was not a masterpiece at all, really. But I liked it. Mac Bolan. This is the second book. It's the sequel. There were like hundreds of Mac Bolan books. There are hundreds of them by now. But this was only the second one. Mac Bolan, Death Squad. I'll be reading Death Squad as my men's adventure book. Why not? It'll be fun. Again, another book that I have on my e-reader. So, yeah, Death Squad. I'm going to read that. Which brings us to the third week, which is August 18th through the 24th. Sex and or violence. Sex and or violence. And or, can't we get both of those in one book? Yes, we can. I've got just the book for this. This is another book that I've been intending to read and was supposed to read last year. This is Incubus. So this is a book that is now a major film. It's now a major film, this book by Ray Russell. This is a book about a sex demon, I think. And so I think there's lots of sex and violence in this book. Let's read the back so you get an idea of the classy piece of literature we're going to be reading here. Galen is an ordinary, peaceful, small town until horrendous terror strikes. It's not just ordinary terror, it's horrendous terror. And strikes again and again, each time claiming a female victim in a fashion too hideous to contemplate. Well, we're going to be contemplating it because we're going to read this trashy book. Julian Trask, a student of the occult, with a name like Julian Trask, you're probably going to be a student of the occult, and he is. Julian Trask, a student of the occult, is used to thinking the unthinkable. As he works toward the solution of the soul-searing mystery, it's a soul-searing mystery, Galen trembles in mortal dread. For no woman is safe from the lethal lust of the incubus. It's the lethal lust of the incubus. So yeah, sex and violence. Let's do them both with incubus. Let's read that. And week four, the 25th through the 31st, and this is my favorite here. This is Novelizations. I love novelizations. It is novelizations or a book that was turned into a miniseries. One of those, either novelizations or a book that was turned into a miniseries. Well, what if we have a novelization that is a novelization of a miniseries? Let's do that. And that is this, V by A.C. Crispin. V by A.C. Crispin. Now, do you guys remember this miniseries V from back in the olden days? It was the 80s, right? This came out in the 80s, V, I'm pretty sure. And this is about alien Nazis that come to Earth. Or something like that. I remember really liking this. I even had like a V action figure, I think. I'm pretty sure I did. Anyway, V, the miniseries. So this book by A.C. Crispin, who wrote a bunch of Star Trek books, from what I remember. That's where I remember this name from, right? So V, I remember being a really good miniseries. It was a lot of fun, but I haven't seen it. Could it have been since the 80s? I don't know when I've seen it last, but it was, yeah, I was much younger when I saw it. So it might have been from the 80s. I'm not exactly sure. But I remember watching this miniseries in the 80s and really liking this. And there were a couple miniseries. There was the original miniseries, and then there was a sequel miniseries. And I think this book has both of those miniseries novelized into this one because it's a big book. This is a 400-page book, which is long for a novelization. Long for that kind of thing. But I'm really looking forward to this. And it'll be interesting because I have seen the miniseries, but it's been decades. So, you know, I probably forgot most of it. So that'll make it extra fun to read the book. So yeah, this is for week 4 for Garbaugust. I don't know that I'll be able to sneak anything else in there. It'll be a challenge just to read all of that stuff with as busy as my life is. But I'm going to try to get all of that done because Garbaugust is just a ton of fun every year. It's a blast. So yeah, Garbaugust 3D on its way this year. It'll be tons of fun. You should join us. Right, Roger? Roger's thrilled and excited as usual. I will catch you next time.